Hey guys, Dan here from Your Guitar Academy and welcome to Unit 3 of our Funk Essentials Level 1 course. And in this unit, we're now going to dive into the world of minor 7th chords. So up to this point, we've been working very strongly and heavily with the dominant 9th, the 13th, the kind of chromatic ideas around that, very much basing it in that kind of James Brown's classic soul funk vibe. Now we're going to start moving into this minor 7th world, and we're going to talk about why we use the minor 7th chords, why they're so common in funk, and I'm going to take you through 5 positions for the minor 7th chord, coming back to our cage system. So if you've never done the cage system, then we've got some great courses, the Unlocking the Minor and Major Cage, which I'd highly recommend going through first. But we're going to be expanding that system to tackle the 7th chord, so the minor 7th chords, adding the pentatonic, and learn how to kind of do that cool thing where you do a little bit of a funky chord and then a little bit of a lead line, which we're going to call bubble picking, and how to bring all of that together. So this is very much a whole range of exercises that will help you learn this across the fretboard. It's an invaluable tool for any funk player. So pick up your guitar and let's get started. Hey guys, if you've just joined us here on YouTube for this Funk Essentials quest, then please do go ahead and check out the website. It's all absolutely free. You get the full write-up, you get the tab, the chord diagrams, the scale diagrams, everything you need to get the most out of this course. As well as that, please do like and subscribe to us here on YouTube and leave us a comment. We make sure that we get back to every single one of you. All right then guys, so that's the first track that we're going to be going through. And as you can hear, it's kind of somewhere in between a full track and an exercise, as I tend to like to do, because it just makes it more fun to kind of play through. Now, the idea of what we're trying to learn here is we're going to, over the next 5 lessons, we're going to be learning each of the 5 minor 7th cage chord shapes. We're starting in the E shape position. It's always a great place to start because basically the E shape is starting from the root note on the E string. So typically it's a good place to start, even though it's not the start of caged. So caged would be the C shape, obviously. From a guitar point of view, it doesn't really matter what one you start on. So I like to start on the E, you know, where the root note is on the E string. It's just a logical place to start in my mind anyway. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the first shape, we're going to be aligning it to the correct pentatonic, and then just working through the part itself. So if I just play the part kind of a cappella, it sounds like this. And that's the part, okay? And the genius of this is that we've got the chord, we've got the pentatonic, we've got the chord, we've got the pentatonic, and then we've got a slightly more developed pentatonic run, which really helps you assign, okay, when I'm playing this chord, I've got this pentatonic, okay? That's what we're really aiming to achieve here. So let's go through it. First of all, let's start with the chord and a little bit of theory behind the minor 7th chord. So, as we said, we've been talking about dominant 7th, dominant 9th so far. Now we're bringing in minor 7th. So in terms of the theory behind a minor 7th chord, what you're working with is a minor triad. So you're going to have the root, the flat third, and the 5th. So that's your minor triad. So anytime you ever played an A minor chord, for example, that's what you will have been using, okay? Now, here, all we need to do on top of that is add in the flat 7th. Okay, so if I run up the minor scale, in fact, if I run up the A major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I flatten that note, that flat 7, so that G is what I need to put into this chord. So I'll have a root, a flat third, a 5th, and a flat 7. And that's the chord construction, that's the theory behind any minor 7th chord, okay? So when we're developing the minor 7ths across the neck, we've got to have a root in it, we've got to have a flat third, we need to have a fifth and a flat 7. Now, a couple of things here, just before. Just to kind of stomp on that rule straight away. To confuse you even more. There's a couple of things, especially when we're playing funk. The most important things within that chord there will be your flat 3rd and your flat 7. They're going to be the most important elements of that, because quite simply, a bass player will often be taking the root note. So unless you're playing by yourself without a band, then of course you will need the root as well. So root, flat 3rd, flat 7. That will define the chord. The 5th is really just, think of it as just a little bit of a padding note. It doesn't really bring any specific element to the chord. It just kind of fills it out a little bit. And when you're working with triads, that's a good idea because you've only got 3 notes there, so you can get that together easily across the neck. But when you start to add more notes in, so when we're doing a 7th chord now, we've got 4 notes, and sometimes you only want to play 3 of those. So if you use the root, the flat 3rd, and the flat 7, that's going to be enough to define the chord. You don't have to have the 5th in there as well, okay, if that makes sense. So you'll see that as we go through these cage positions, you'll see sometimes we use the 5th, sometimes we don't. We can kind of play around with it a little bit. Here, this is the chord that we're going to be learning, and there's loads of ways you can play this. Okay, so the first obvious way is like the Barre Chord version. Okay, which basically you just flatten your first finger against the 5th fret, and you put your 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the A string. Okay, so there you've actually got a root, a 5th, you've got a flat 7, flat 7, you've got the flat 3rd, then you've got the 5th again, and then you've got the root again. Now, as a funk player, I probably wouldn't play that chord in that way because I don't really need, it's quite rare that I'm going to need all 6 strings. You know, it's quite a heavy sound. And also, for me, this chord doesn't really bring out the best of the sound of the minor 7. We got a 5th in there twice, which, as I said, we don't need as much. What I'd rather have is a more, really target that flat 7, for example. So instead, I tend to play like this. Okay? This gives me a few options. So what I do here is I play my 2nd finger on the root note of the chord, and then I've got my 3rd finger simply just barring everything else. So from the flat 7, you've got the flat 3rd, you've got the 5th, and then you've got the root. So you can play like that. Or if you prefer, if you like the thumb over the top thing, you can play like this. Very good too. Where again, you've got the thumb playing the roots, then the 1st finger just bars the rest of it. Okay. Either way, we typically want to avoid that low A string. And I'd even go as far to say that most of the time, you won't even be playing the root note. Okay, you'll be really here. Just playing the chord like that. Okay. That really makes it a fun chord to play if you just do it simply with the 1st finger, 2nd finger, 3rd finger. Any or all of those options work really well. When I play it, you'll see me play it like this. I just like that way of playing it. I've got used to that, but that doesn't mean it's for you. It's however you also like to play that. Okay, so have a little play around with some of those. And one cool little tip as well, which I'll throw in here, is if you really want to target that flat 7, you can do this. So you can actually bring the flat 7 in on top here as well. So that we've got this is actually the 8th fret of the B string. I'm barring that 5th fret again. And all this is doing is removing where I was playing the 5th, I'm now playing a flat 7. So if I do a chord like that, I've got the flat 7, the flat 3rd, the flat 7 again, and then the root. So that's very nice. Nice way to play the chord. But typically you're going to see it like this. Okay, and that's how we're going to play it for this track. Okay. So that's the chord. So the first thing you need to do is to spend a bit of time just getting that chord shape together. We're going to be working on it obviously with this track, but that's our focus, okay? So that's your first, that's your E shape, A minor 7th chord, okay? Now, let's just talk for a second about the pentatonic that we're going to put underneath that, okay? So if you've gone through my Unlocking Caged courses, then basically in the minor cage course, we talked about the fact that with the E shape cage chord, which is just the basic minor one, you have pentatonic box 1. Okay? You can always assign that, it just fits absolutely perfectly. You're playing the A minor pentatonic, A minor chord shape, okay? And you can actually see it literally within that minor chord shape. You can see the notes. You know, you can actually see all of those notes fit perfectly within that box, okay? Now, the great news is if you've been through that course, then this is not going to be foreign for you, because when you talk about minor seventh, it's still the same family of chords. So we're still minor. We're still working with minor. So it's not major, it's not dominant, it's minor, okay? And with the family of minor chords, whether it's a minor seventh, a minor ninth, a minor 11th, a minor 13th, whatever it is, it's still the same concept that you can attribute pentatonic box 1 underneath the E shape. So like I said, whether that's a minor seventh, a minor ninth, or whatever, you can still go and do that, okay? So what I'd kind of recommend doing, I've got a little looper here which we can have a bit of fun with. Let me just get rid of what's on it already. It's just kind of getting that minor seventh chord just down on the looper. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And just now, just playing through that minor pentatonic box 1 shape. Now remember, if you're unsure about any of these pentatonic shapes, I'm not going to be going through them in detail, of course, here, because I'm assuming you'll know this already. But if you're unsure, then head over to the website. You'll see the full, the pattern for it laid out nicely on a fretboard, just so you can clarify everything, including the intervals. So root, flat third, fourth, fifth, flat seventh, root. And you can hear. So if I do a little groove, it all fits perfectly, okay? So there's the theory, there's the basic concept. So we've got pentatonic box 1 and we've got the minor seventh chord E shape, however you choose to fret that. Got a couple of options for you there that you can work with, okay? Now, let's get to the part itself. So the part itself, just to come back to that, sounds like this. That's the part, okay? So in terms of our strumming pattern, okay, we're going 1 E and A. So 1 E and A, like that, okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bring it up in front of me just so it's nice, it's absolutely nice and clear. So we've got this 1 E and A. So we're very used to that at this point. We've done a lot of strumming patterns that start like that. Okay. And again, there you can play full 6 strings, or you can just focus in on the higher strings. For me, it sounds better when you just focus in on the higher strings, but you can practice both. Okay. 1 E and A. Okay, and then we've got the rest of the bar to fill. Now, for the rest of the bar, we're going to do this thing called bubble picking. Now, bubble picking, I'm sure you will be familiar with the sound. It's the kind of like Michael Jackson style, where it kind of sounds like a rhythm part and the lead part blended into one, doesn't it? The purpose of it actually is less melodically and much more rhythm. It's all about kind of adding another layer of rhythm, and we do add more to the melody thanks to that as well. It brings in a whole new kind of dynamic, right? So if I had a kind of like a simple rhythm pattern going on here, just as an example, so if I had a kind of like let's get funky. And then I brought in a bubble picking vibe. Have a listen to the effect. And you might hear them harmonize like this. Okay, getting carried away a little bit there, but you can hear the bubble picking is part of the rhythm track. It's not part of the lead track. The lead track was that last bit that I did. It's part of the rhythm track. And It's all about the same ideas that we're working with the 16th note strumming. It's keeping that right hand very, very rhythmical, keeping it moving through the 16th notes. But rather than this, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, is this 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Okay? So it's the idea that it's still a rhythm track, even though you're now doing individual lines. And there's a lot that you can do with that. And we will be developing that way, way more in this course and then in later levels, because it gets harder and harder as you kind of develop it, because it can go really far and you can just do massive, great, big, epic lines using this. Now, for our purpose today, I want to start relatively simple with a line that sounds like this. So for me, this is a nice place to start because we've got a ghost note in there. We're learning the kind of muted sound and we're working from there, okay? So let's just go through this. Now, all I'm doing is I'm taking the pentatonic box 1, because that's where we are at the moment. I'm taking the flat 7, I'm taking the root, and I'm taking the flat 3rd, okay? And physically what I'm doing is I'm going a downstroke because it starts on the 3. If you're thinking of it as a rhythm pattern, it's 3E and a, 3E and a, 3E and a. So it's just down, up, okay? Fits in with the rhythm pattern. That's what we're going to find out as we start to do this. So we get, on the first downstroke on that 3, it's actually just a ghost note. So it's a dead note. So we just block the string off with our finger. Then on the E, so on the upstroke, we're going to hit the flat 7. Then on the downstroke, we're going to hit the root. Then on the A, E and A, we're going to do an upstroke on the G string. Okay. So with this style of bubble picking, it's important that we always keep that down-up movement going. So even when we go from a string to string like this, if you were doing a lead part, you might go down, down there, for example. In this instance, we're going to go down, up, because we want to keep that consistent 16th note bouncy thing. Like that. Okay? Ba-bum-bum. All right. So this is the part we need to get. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to put a drum beat on, and I'm just going to really focus in on this part specifically. So we're going to go down to like 60 BPM here. And remember, this is on the 3, E, and A. So as I count through this drum beat on the 3, E, and A, I'm going to play this part. The final thing to say as we do this is with my right hand, I'm palm muting as well. So I'm not going... It's not open like that. It's a palm muted sound. So I'm actually resting that palm just in front of the bridge, just to get that kind of tone. That'll take a bit of time to get, but just be aware that you're kind of palm muting with your right hand as well here. So let's go through this. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. Okay? 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. Now that right hand is moving. 2 and 3. So 3 is the hit. I'll do it without the count. Okay? 1 E and a 2. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and 2 E and a. So notice how I'm constantly doing that movement, even when I'm not hitting anything. 1 E and a 2 E and a. Like that. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. Okay, then, so there's the bubble picking part. And when we add that to the strumming part, we've got this all together. 2, 3, 4. To count it, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2, the 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay? And that's the part that we're trying to get together. Now you do that 3 times, and on the 4th time, you simply run down the pentatonic from the 4th. So we go down from the 7th fret of the G string we just roll down the shape. Just in 16th notes. So 1 E and a, 2 E and then we stop. Okay? So the whole part, if I just do it up at 70 BPM for the moment, just to really kind of get the feel for it coming in a bit more, sounds like this. And then 1 E and a, 2 E and a. And you just repeat that. So one more time. And there we have it. Everything palm muted. You can hear, apart from the chord, the rest of the part is totally palm muted to make it have that kind of vibe that we're looking for. So there we have it, guys. We went through loads there. So we're doing this kind of cage chord system again with the minor 7th chords. We've attributed the pentatonic to that E shape minor, which is great. And now we've learned how to do bubble picking, and we've got the rhythm and that kind of bubble picking sound together in one part. So if you need to, please do head on over to the website where you can actually play along with that audio track. You can get a slower version and the up to speed version. And essentially what we're going to be doing is taking that exact same part. So the rest of the lessons will not be as long as this one, I promise you. We're taking that exact same part, but now we're going to do it in different positions on the neck. So you can familiarize yourself across the fretboard. All right, that's it for me for this lesson, guys. If you want to head over to the next lesson, all you have to do is click here somewhere. And if you want to start from the beginning of the course, the full playlist is here. As well as that, please do like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave us a comment. We love hearing from you guys. We love hearing how you're getting on, and we'll do our best to get back to every single comment or question that you guys have.